So one of your homework assignments for this week is solving rational equations. So rational equations are equations that have fractions. So if we look at this first example, what you first have to look for is what is your common denominator. So here we have two things in the denominator. We have an x and we have a 3. So the common denominator then would be 3x. What you are doing then is you are distributing it through each piece. So you're going to multiply 3x times x, which is going to give me a 3x squared. 3x times 8, which is going to give me a 24x over x. And then a 3x times my 1/3, which is going to give me 3x over 3. Now, you may not need to write that step out, but I wanted to write it out so that you could see. You can see here now that our x's here are going to cancel out. Our 3's here are going to cancel out. So I'm left with a term that looks like 3x squared equals 24 plus x. Now really you have a quadratic equation. So we need to move everything to one side and set it equal to 0. Now, you can solve this by factoring. You could solve by quadratic formula, whatever you would like. I'm going to solve by factoring. I'm going to put 3x and an x, but then I have to determine the other values. Because the last number is negative, I know one of them has to be negative and one of them has to be positive. So I have to think of the numbers that multiply to 24. We have 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. So we need numbers here, and we can try something. Sometimes you try something, it doesn't work. So I'm going to do a -6 and a +4. Let's see what happens. Now, if I multiply this out, I get 3x squared minus 18x plus 4x minus 24. Well, if I look at the middle, it's not going to give me a -x. So the numbers there I picked did not work. So I might need to try something different. So I'm going to erase that and try something else. So we can try 3 and 8. So I'm going to do a -8 and a +3. And you can pick different things. We're just trying to see what's going to work. So we'd have a 3x squared if we multiply it out, plus 9x minus 8x minus 24. Well, when I get that, when I combine these middle terms, I get an x, or I get a positive x, but I want a negative x, so I'm pretty close to what I need. So I'm going to just change my sign. So I'm going to change this to a +8, and I'm going to change this to a -3. And now my factoring is correct. Now I need to set each piece equal to 0. So I'd have 3x plus 8 equals 0, and x minus 3 equals 0. So I get x equals 3, 3x equals a -8, and x equals a -8/3. Now, with every rational equation, you need to check to make sure. So you have to check your solutions, because you could possibly get answers in the denominator where the denominator is equal to 0. Well, the only thing that would make the denominator equal to 0 is if x was 0. And I did not get an x to be 0. So both of these answers would be solutions. If you find one that does not work, that is called an extraneous solution. So sometimes they don't always work. So be sure to check your answers. If you have any questions or concerns, please make sure you're emailing me, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Have a great week.